and we went down to Florida to the Gulf and spent a nice week down there. But we spent a lot of time talking about this too, and we ended up deciding. And when we came back, I resigned. So that was early September. Early October, we announced it to the congregation, and then I, on their request, because it was amicable, they asked if I would be willing to finish out the year, and I was, because I didn't have anything lined up anyway.
You throw any Catholicism in your sermons?
I did, but not really intentionally. I mean, no, I didn't. You know what? I'm going to say I didn't, and here's why. Because going back to 2023, this is a tangent. You want me to go down this road or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. In 2023, Advent of 2023. For Advent, I'm doing a sermon series just through Luke 1. And so I'm reading on, these passages. I've preached these before. I don't have my reading glasses on, so it's probably good that I can't see.
Keith said you definitely preached a sermon about Mary.
Okay, that was Keith?
Keith, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what happened was I'm supposed to just spend my whole time reading the comments, right?
Yes. Pull Joshua Charles, please.
Keep your glasses off. We'd rather you not see them.
Yeah. It was Advent, and of course I've gone through Luke 1 1,000 times, and I'm just like, what can I do that maybe brings this to life in a way that I haven't before? And so, of course I've read by that time different things from the Catholic Catechism, but I'm looking at different reformers and what they said, and I'm just dumbfounded about how they can believe that Mary remained a virgin. How can you think that? And it wasn't that long before that a guy had asked me at church. It was funny. He just out of nowhere, he said, just literally out of nowhere. It was just this, the Catholics believe that Mary was a virgin the rest of her life after she gave birth to Jesus. I said, yep. He said, but we don't think that. I said, nope. Why not? I said, well, because the New Testament talks about his brothers. I gave the thing, I gave that answer. That was just what I thought. And so when I see that these reformers don't think that way, that she did remain a virgin, I was like, how in the world can they think that? So I started looking into that and discovered their reasons why, which, is just the ancient doctrine of why, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. But I'm ecumenical enough. I'm not interested in fighting with every denomination. I'm interested, we can all look around the world and understand that Christians on whatever level we can need to stand together with what's going on. And that's where I'm at right now. And I'm just like, I don't like seeing the baby thrown out with the bathwater when there are differences. You don't have to jettison everything, just because it might smell a little Catholic or something like that. And so I just kind of dropped a phrase into this Advent sermon about how it seems that the best explanation for why Mary was surprised at what Gabriel said to her was that she had taken a vow of celibacy, and it was really not fair, to be honest, because I said that and then I just kind of moved on because that wasn't my main point. But boy, I got questions about that afterwards. And but honestly, some of them were really good. They were really open. Some of the people in the church, they were asking me, what about this? And I said, yeah, well, here's the thing. And that makes sense. And we just had good conversations. I had a couple that, I don't think really wanted to listen, but that didn't surprise me. And we just moved on. But what I would often do in the summertime, as people are coming and going and vacations and stuff like that, I would do a series through part of the summer where I would just take theological questions that people had or whatever, and I would build a sermon based on that. I would just answer those questions through the medium of a sermon. And so guess what the number one question I got was. And I had been getting that question too. It wasn't just then. So I decided to give a sermon in answer to these questions on the perpetual virginity of Mary. So that would be the one sermon that I gave. I think, I don't know how much of it was how much of it crept into other sermons. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Again, I'm bound confessionally. You know,
Yeah,
it's
I
not like
think-
I was trying
I
to
think-
be a rebel, but
I think
but I
also
gave
getting
that one, and it kind of, that's the one that Keith posted. That's why I think he's saying that, because he posted it on X. That one's actually on my YouTube channel. There's not much there, but that's there. So.
even Catholics, I think, don't grasp what we're saying when we say she's a perpetual virgin. That means her hymen remained intact after giving birth. Like that, it's we're
Yeah,
saying her virginity remained intact even through the birth. Like it is very miraculous what Catholics believe. It's not just she didn't have sex.
yeah.
You know, it's a very deep doctrine. So
It is, and I came across. I really didn't get that. You know, even once we're in 2025 and we know that this is the direction we're going, I was still like, I don't know. That one just doesn't make sense to me, and it seems like people don't necessarily agree fully on that. So I don't know. Do we have to? But then I read Brant Petrie on that, and I was like, oh, okay. Well, that does make really, really good sense then. So.
well, you can, like, for me, some of the things that I've come to even think deeper about, especially through doing this show, is like look at the versions of Christianity that don't believe in the perpetual virginity of Mary versus the ones that do. So like if you have the Orthodox and the Catholics, look at the monastic life that gets born from the belief in the perpetual virginity. Like you see virginity as something holy and sacred, so people take these vows of celibacy in to emulate Our Lady, and these monastic communities are born from it. And that's how we have the Bible written down through the ages, because these monks then transcribe the scriptures. They also transcribe all of the Greek myths, and all of ancient literature is transcribed in these monasteries because they believed in the perpetual virginity of Mary. If it was just Protestantism that got born from, you know, if it was just the Bible, like we wouldn't have a Bible. If it was just left to Protestants, the institution of the church itself is so miraculous because it gives birth to an entire civilization, and it's based in these monasteries that are writing down these books and passing these things down to the next generation. It's really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it was to your question about the sermons too. Yeah, absolutely. It was just one of those things where to me, it's like, okay, here's something that we could embrace as Protestants that the first Protestants did embrace. And yet it really, you know, along the line, at some point it gets jettisoned and people don't believe that anymore. And you see that on X and everywhere else online. It doesn't matter whether reformers believe that or not, you know, they're wrong. And yeah, but there's good reasons for it. And so that's, you know, that was a sermon. Others, again, there might have been other things in there, but on the timeline of things, in late August, early September, all we really decided was it's time to resign.
Mm-hmm.